The water rippled around her shoulders. She wasn't doing anything dramatic, wasn't trying to be seductive. She was just sitting in the infinity pool on the rooftop of the Park Hyatt Seoul, watching the sunset paint the city gold. Her hair, usually twisted into a severe bun, floated loose around her shoulders. Dark, long, catching the light in ways he'd never noticed before. The glasses that normally hid half her face were gone, set carefully on the pool edge next to her phone. And the swimsuit. God, the swimsuit. Black, simple, nothing scandalous. But on her, on Lee Ji-won, his assistant of 3 years, the woman he saw every single day in shapeless blazers and sensible flats, it was devastating. Kang Tae-hyun stood 15 feet away, towel around his neck, trying to remember how to breathe normally. For 3 years, he'd maintained perfect control, perfect professionalism, perfect distance. Ji-won was efficient, competent, invisible in the way good assistants should be. He'd never looked at her as anything except the person who managed his schedule and remembered his coffee order. Until 5 minutes ago, when she'd walked out of the hotel in that swimsuit, pulled off her glasses, and slipped into the pool like it was nothing. Like she hadn't just destroyed 3 years of carefully maintained indifference. Like she had no idea what she was doing to him. "Are you coming in?" she called out, turning to look at him. "The water's perfect." Tae-hyun's throat went dry. Her eyes, without glasses, were enormous, warm, completely unguarded. She smiled, easy, friendly, the same smile she gave him when she brought his coffee, completely, devastatingly oblivious. "In a minute," he managed, his voice rougher than intended. She shrugged and turned back to the view. And Tae-hyun realized something terrifying. His self-control, built over 32 years of surviving in a world where weakness meant death, was crumbling. Because of a woman in a swimsuit who had no idea she'd just become the most dangerous thing in his life. If you're still watching right now, drop a comment and tell me where you're watching from. Subscribe to our channel for stories that can make you smile and can also make you cry for absolute strangers. Now, let's get into the story. 3 days earlier, Seoul. Lee Ji-won sat at her desk outside Kang Tae-hyun's office, typing notes from the morning's meeting at exactly 70 words per minute. She'd been his executive assistant for 3 years, 2 months, and 14 days. Not that she was counting. She knew his schedule better than he did. Knew he took his coffee black with 1 sugar. Knew he hated video calls before 9 a.m. Knew the exact tone of voice that meant a business deal had gone wrong and she should clear his afternoon. She was good at her job, exceptional even, and completely invisible, which was exactly how she'd designed it. Ji-won had learned early in her career that being beautiful in corporate spaces, especially in spaces run by dangerous men, was a liability. So she'd made herself plain. Oversized blazers that hid her figure, hair always pulled back, glasses with thick frames that dominated her face, minimal makeup, sensible shoes, the uniform of a woman who wanted to be taken seriously, not looked at. It worked perfectly. Tae-hyun treated her like a highly efficient piece of office equipment, valued, well compensated, completely professional, never personal, never inappropriate, never interested. Exactly what she wanted. Except lately, and Ji-won would never admit this out loud, she'd started noticing things about him that had nothing to do with work. The way he rolled his sleeves when he was frustrated, exposing forearms that were far more muscular than a CEO had any right to be. The rare smile that transformed his usually stern expression into something almost boyish. The voice he used on phone calls with his younger sister, warm, protective, completely different from his boardroom tone. The tattoos she'd glimpsed once when his shirt collar shifted, dark ink disappearing beneath expensive fabric, a reminder that Kang Tae-hyun wasn't just a businessman. He was the heir to one of Seoul's most powerful families, The kind that operated in shadows, the kind where import-export business meant something far more dangerous than it sounded. Ji-won knew, had known when she took the job, had accepted it anyway because the salary was extraordinary, and Tae-hyun, despite his world, had always been absolutely professional with her. 3 years. Not one inappropriate comment. Not one lingering look. Not one crossed line. Which was good, perfect, exactly what she wanted. So why did it sometimes feel like disappointment? Ji-won. She looked up. Tae-hyun stood in his doorway, jacket off, tie loosened. It was 7 p.m. Most of the office had left hours ago. Yes, sir? Stop calling me sir. We've worked together for 3 years. Yes, Mr. Kang. He sighed. That's not better. Would you prefer boss? Your Highness? Supreme Leader? The corner of his mouth twitched, almost a smile. Tae-hyun would be fine. That seems inappropriately casual for someone who signs my paycheck. And yet you're comfortable making jokes about supreme leaders. That was professional humor, completely different. This time he did smile. The Singapore deal closed. We're flying out Monday to finalize paperwork and meet with the board. Ji-won pulled up his calendar. You have the quarterly review Monday afternoon. Reschedule it. This is more important. The review has been scheduled for 3 months. Board members are flying in. Ji-won. His voice was patient but firm. I'm not asking if I should go. I'm telling you I'm going, and I need you to come with me. She looked up sharply. Me? You've handled all the documentation. You know this deal better than anyone. 3 days. We leave Monday, back Thursday. I don't have... The company will cover everything. Hotel, expenses, appropriate wardrobe if needed. Consider it a business trip, not a vacation. Ji-won's mind raced. 3 days, in Singapore, with Tae-hyun. Professional, just business. Nothing weird about it. So why did her heart rate spike? Okay, she said. I'll make the arrangements. Already done. Soo-jin handled the bookings. He named his secretary who handled travel. You just need to pack. Efficient. I learned from the best. He grabbed his jacket. Go home. Get some rest. Monday's going to be intense. He left. Ji-won sat at her desk, staring at her computer screen, trying to figure out why she suddenly felt nervous about a routine business trip with a man she'd worked with for 3 years without incident. Monday morning, Incheon Airport. Ji-won arrived at the first-class lounge in her usual uniform. Gray blazer, white shirt, black slacks, hair pulled back, glasses on. Professional. Invisible. Safe. Tae-hyun was already there, reading something on his tablet. He looked up when she approached. You're early. You're earlier. I'm always early. So am I. He smiled. I know, it's one of your more annoying qualities. Being punctual is annoying? Being better at it than me is annoying. Ji-won almost laughed. Almost. The flight was smooth. First-class pods that converted to beds. Ji-won spent most of it working on her laptop, reviewing contracts, preparing briefing documents. Tae-hyun spent most of it watching her work with an expression she couldn't quite read. You don't have to work the entire flight, he said finally. Neither do you. I'm not working. I'm watching you work. It's different. Ji-won looked up. That's creepy. It's observational. Still creepy. You're very focused when you work. Your eyebrows do this thing. He mimicked a small furrow. Are you critiquing my facial expressions? I'm complimenting your concentration. By staring at me for... She checked her watch. 45 minutes? Has it been 45 minutes? Tae-hyun asked innocently. You're impossible. And yet you've worked for me for 3 years. The salary is exceptional. Is that the only reason? The question hung between them. Ji-won closed her laptop. What do you want me to say? That I enjoy managing the schedule of a workaholic with control issues who texts me at 2 a.m. about meeting agendas. You're awake at 2 a.m. Because you texted me. You respond within 90 seconds. I'm efficient. You're always awake. Ji-won didn't have a response to that, because he was right. She was always awake, always working, always available, because going home to her empty apartment meant having time to think about how lonely her life had become. Sleep on the flight, Tae-hyun said quietly. That's an order. You can't order me to sleep. Watch me. He reached over and gently closed her laptop. 3 hours. Rest. We have a long week ahead. Ji-won wanted to argue, wanted to insist she was fine. But the warmth in his voice, the unexpected gentleness, made her throat tight. Okay, she whispered. She reclined her seat, closed her eyes, and tried not to think about how Kang Tae-hyun had just shown her more care in 30 seconds than anyone had in months. They landed in Singapore at 4 p.m. local time. The hotel was obscene. The Park Hyatt in the financial district, suites with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. We're on the same floor, Tae-hyun said in the elevator. Yours is 4201. Mine is 4205. If you need anything, I'll be fine. G1. She looked at him. If you need anything, he repeated, I'm 4 doors down. Something in his tone made her breath catch. Okay, she said softly. Her suite was beautiful. King bed, marble bathroom, a view that made Seoul look small. She unpacked methodically, hung up her 3 identical blazers, arranged her toiletries, set up her laptop. Then sat on the edge of the bed and realized she had 3 hours before dinner with the Singapore board members and absolutely nothing to do. Her phone buzzed. Tae-hyun. Dinner at 8. Rooftop restaurant. Dress code is business casual. If you need anything, let me know. Ji-won. I brought appropriate attire, thank you. Tae-hyun. I know you did. You're prepared for everything. Ji-won. It's literally my job. Tae-hyun. Still impressive. Ji-won stared at her phone. They'd texted thousands of times over 3 years, but something about these messages felt different, more personal, less professional. She shook her head. Exhaustion. Jet lag. Nothing more. She showered, changed into a modest black dress, the one she saved for client dinners, and pulled her hair back into its usual bun, glasses on, armor in place, professional, invisible, safe. Dinner was exactly as expected. Boring business talk, contracts and projections and market analysis. Ji-won took notes, asked intelligent questions, made the Singapore executives like her. Tae-hyun watched her the entire time with an expression that made her uncomfortable. Proud? Impressed? Something else? When they finally returned to the hotel at midnight, Ji-won was exhausted. You were exceptional tonight, Tae-hyun said in the elevator. I did my job. You did more than that. Kim Sang-woo was difficult. You handled him perfectly. He wasn't difficult. He was insecure. I made him feel smart. Exactly. That's a skill. The elevator reached their floor. Get some rest, Tae-hyun said. Tomorrow's meetings start at 9. What are you doing? He blinked. What? You're still wired. I can tell. You're going to work until 3 a.m. and be exhausted tomorrow. I'm fine. No, you're not. You do this thing with your jaw when you're stressed. She mimicked the small clench. Tae-hyun stared at her. You notice that? I notice everything. It's my job. Is that the only reason? There it was again. That question, that tone. Ji-won's heart hammered. What else would it be? Tae-hyun stepped closer, just one step. But suddenly the hallway felt small. I don't know, he said quietly. You tell me. They stood there, 4 feet apart. A million miles of professional distance that suddenly felt like nothing. I should go, Ji-won whispered. Yeah, Tae-hyun agreed, but he didn't move. Neither did she. Finally, he stepped back. "Good night, Ji-won." "Good night, Mr. Kang." She made it to her room before her hands started shaking. The next day was brutal. Back-to-back meetings from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m., negotiations, revisions, last-minute changes to contracts that made Ji-won want to scream. By the time they returned to the hotel, she was exhausted and wired and desperate to do anything except stare at a computer screen. She changed out of her blazer, put on workout clothes, leggings, a tank top, planned to hit the hotel gym. But when she stepped onto the rooftop to take the stairs down, she saw the pool, empty, glowing, the city spreading out beyond it like a carpet of lights. Ji-won hadn't been swimming in years, but suddenly she wanted nothing more than to sink into cool water and let the tension drain away. She didn't have a swimsuit, hadn't thought to pack one, but the hotel boutique was still open. 10 minutes later, she'd purchased a simple black one-piece that cost more than she'd ever spent on swimwear and felt ridiculous about the impulse. But she was already here, already committed. She grabbed a towel, pulled her hair down, too tired to bother with the bun, and left her glasses in her room because chlorine and prescription lenses didn't mix. The pool was still empty, perfect. She slipped into the water and felt everything relax. This was exactly what she needed. The water was body temperature, warm enough to be comfortable, cool enough to be refreshing. She floated on her back, staring up at the darkening sky, and let her mind empty. No schedules, no contracts, no carefully maintained professional distance, just water and silence and peace. She didn't hear the door to the rooftop open, didn't see Tae-hyun step out, clearly planning to swim, stopping dead when he saw her. Didn't notice him standing there, frozen, as his entire understanding of Lee Ji-won shattered and reformed into something completely different. Tae-hyun had thought about swimming since they'd checked in. The rooftop pool, private, empty this time of night. The perfect way to clear his head after brutal negotiations. He'd changed into swim shorts, grabbed a towel, taken the elevator up, and found her. At first, he didn't recognize her. The woman in the pool had long, dark hair floating around her shoulders. No glasses. Her face, without those thick frames, was completely different. High cheekbones, full lips, eyes that were enormous even from this distance. She was beautiful. Not conventionally beautiful, not polished or made up or trying, just naturally, devastatingly beautiful in a way that made his chest tight. Then she turned her head and he saw her profile, and his brain short-circuited. Ji-won. That was Ji-won, his assistant, his competent, professional, invisible assistant who he'd worked with for 3 years without really seeing her. Except now, he was seeing her. All of her. The swimsuit wasn't revealing. It was modest, practical. Exactly what Ji-won would choose. But on her, on a body he'd never noticed because she hid it under shapeless blazers, it was lethal. The water lapped around her shoulders. Her skin was golden in the pool lights. Her hair moved like silk. She looked relaxed, peaceful. Completely different from the tense professional who lived in his office. She looked happy, and Tae-hyun realized with sudden, devastating clarity that he'd been lying to himself for 3 years. He wasn't indifferent to Lee Ji-won. He'd just been very, very careful not to notice her, because noticing meant wanting, and wanting meant complications, and complications in his world meant danger. So he'd built walls, maintained distance, treated her like an employee instead of a woman, and now those walls were crumbling, because she was in a pool looking like that, and he couldn't pretend anymore. "Are you coming in?" Her voice startled him. She'd turned around, was looking at him with those enormous eyes, smiling, friendly, completely oblivious to the crisis happening in his head. "The water's perfect," she added. Tae-hyun's throat was dry. "In a minute." She shrugged, a movement that made the water ripple around her, and turned back to the view. He should leave. should make up an excuse, should get as far away as possible before he did something stupid. Instead, he set down his towel and walked to the pool, slipped into the water on the opposite side, keeping distance, maintaining control. "Long day," Ji-won said, still facing away from him. "Yeah. Kim was being difficult again. You handled him." "I always do." She turned to look at him, smiled. "That's what you pay me for." God, that smile. How had he never noticed that smile? "I pay you for scheduling and organization," Tae-hyun managed. "The diplomatic crisis management is a bonus." "Should I ask for a raise?" "You got a raise 3 months ago." "That was for my excellent scheduling. This is for emotional labor." "Emotional labor." "Dealing with difficult men and their egos." She tilted her head. "Present company excluded." "Of course." "Of course," Tae-hyun echoed. They floated in silence. The city hummed below them. The water lapped gently at the pool edges. "I've never seen you without your glasses," Tae-hyun said before he could stop himself. Ji-won touched her face self-consciously. "I forgot them. Chlorine and prescription lenses don't mix. Can you see?" "I'm very nearsighted. You're kind of blurry right now." "So you have no idea if I'm staring at you?" The words came out before he could censor them. Ji-won laughed. "Are you staring at me?" "Yes." The honesty surprised them both. Ji-won went still. "Why?" "Because you're beautiful. Because I've been blind for 3 years. Because everything I thought I knew just changed, and I don't know how to process it." "Because you look different," Tae-hyun said carefully. "Without the work armor." "Work armor?" "The blazers, the bun, the glasses, the whole don't notice me ensemble." Ji-won's expression shifted, became guarded. "That's professional attire. That's camouflage. Maybe I like being invisible." "Why?" She swam to the edge, pulled herself up to sit on the rim, water sluicing off her shoulders, put distance between them. "Because visible women in corporate spaces get treated differently," she said quietly. "They get questioned, underestimated, hit on. I wanted to be taken seriously, so I made myself plain." "You're not plain." "That's the point. I made myself plain." Tae-hyun swam closer, stopped at the edge, looking up at her. She was backlit by city lights, water dripping from her hair. "For what it's worth," he said, "I've always taken you seriously, from day one. Not because of how you dress, because you're brilliant." Ji-won looked down at him. Her eyes, without glasses, were unguarded, vulnerable. "Thank you," she whispered. They stayed like that, him in the water, her on the edge, the air between them charged with something neither wanted to name. "I should go," Ji-won said finally. "Early meeting tomorrow." "Right." "Yeah." She stood, grabbed her towel, wrapped it around herself, started to walk away. "Ji-won." She stopped, turned. Tae-hyun pulled himself out of the pool, water streaming off him, took one step toward her, just one. "Be careful," he said quietly. "Of what?" "Me. Apparently I notice things when I'm not supposed to." Ji-won's breath caught. "What does that mean?" "It means the work armor was working, and now it's not. And I don't know what to do about that." They stared at each other. "Nothing," Ji-won said. "You do nothing. We do nothing. We're professionals." "Right. This was just swimming. 2 colleagues using hotel amenities." "Absolutely." "Tomorrow we go back to normal." "Of course." Neither of them moved. "Good night, Mr. Kang," Ji-won whispered. "Tae-hyun," he corrected. "Just call me Tae-hyun." She nodded once, then left. Tae-hyun stood alone by the pool, dripping water, his self-control in absolute ruins. 3 years. 3 years of perfect professionalism. Destroyed by a black swimsuit and a woman without her glasses. He was in so much trouble. If you're still watching, Drop a still watching in the comments, because this next part changes everything. Tae-hyun didn't sleep that night. He lay in his obscenely comfortable hotel bed, staring at the ceiling, and tried to figure out when exactly everything had gone wrong. No, not wrong. Different. When had Lee Ji-won stopped being his assistant and become this? This person who invaded his thoughts, who made him notice things, who looked at him without fear or calculation and just saw him. He'd built his life on control, on discipline, on never wanting what he couldn't have. And now he wanted something, someone, he absolutely couldn't have. Because Ji-won worked for him, depended on him for her livelihood, trusted him to maintain professional boundaries. Getting involved with her would be an abuse of power, would put her in an impossible position, would ruin the best working relationship he'd ever had. He knew all of this. And yet, that smile, the way she'd looked at the city lights, the unself-conscious grace of her movements in the water, the realization that for 3 years he'd been working next to someone extraordinary and never let himself see it. His phone buzzed. Ji-won. Can't sleep. Did you remember to send the revised contract to Kim's team? Tae-hyun smiled despite everything. Of course she was up. Of course she was thinking about work. Tae-hyun. Sent it 2 hours ago. Stop working and sleep. Ji-won. You're awake too. Tae-hyun. I'm allowed to be hypocritical. It's in my job description. Ji-won. Where in your job description? I organized your job description. There's nothing about hypocrisy. Tae-hyun. It's implied in the CEO title. Ji-won. That's not how job titles work. Tae-hyun. You're very argumentative for someone who's supposed to be sleeping. Ji-won. You're very bossy for someone who's also awake at 2 a.m. Tae-hyun. Touché. A pause. Then, Ji-won. About earlier, at the pool. Tae-hyun's heart stopped. Ji-won. I know it was different, seeing each other outside of work context, but I don't want it to be weird. Can we just forget it happened? Everything in Tae-hyun wanted to say no. No, I can't forget. No, I don't want to. No, something fundamental shifted, and I can't pretend it didn't. Instead, he typed, Tae-hyun. Of course, already forgotten. Ji-won. Good. See you at breakfast. 7 a.m.? Tae-hyun. I'll be there. He put down his phone and stared at the ceiling again. Already forgotten. The biggest lie he'd ever told. The next morning, Ji-won appeared at breakfast in full armor. Hair pulled back so severely it must hurt. Oversized blazer, thick-framed glasses, no makeup. Invisible again, safe again. Tae-hyun felt something in his chest twist. Morning, she said briskly, pulling out her tablet. I have the revised agenda. Kim wants to add a lunch meeting today. I told him we'd confirm by 9. Also, the Seoul office called. There's an issue with the Busan contract that needs your approval. Professional, efficient, distant, back to normal. Exactly what he'd agreed to. So why did it feel like a loss? Ji-won, he said quietly. She looked up. Her eyes, hidden again behind thick frames, were unreadable. You don't have to do this. Do what? Pretend last night didn't happen. You agreed to forget it. I lied. Ji-won went very still. Don't. Don't what? Don't make this complicated. Please. We have a good thing. A good working relationship. Don't. Don't ruin it. Is it ruined? It will be if we keep talking about this. Tae-hyun leaned back. Okay. We'll go back to professional distance. Pretend I never noticed. Pretend you never... He stopped. Never what? Nothing. You're right. We're professionals. But the rest of the day was agony. Because now that Tae-hyun had seen past the armor, he couldn't unsee it. He noticed everything. The way Ji-won bit her lower lip when she was concentrating. The small smile when she successfully navigated a difficult negotiation. The exhausted slump of her shoulders during the car ride back to the hotel. the careful distance she maintained, like she was afraid of getting too close. That night, Tae-hyun found her in the hotel business center at 10 p.m., still working. "What are you doing?" he asked. She jumped. "You scared me." "What are you doing?" he repeated. "Reviewing tomorrow's presentations." "You finished those yesterday?" "I'm double-checking." "Jiwon, go to your room. Rest." "I'm fine." "You're exhausted." "I said I'm fine." Her voice was sharp, unlike her. Tae-hyun closed the door, sat down across from her. "What's going on?" "Nothing." "That's a lie." "So was already forgotten. But here we are." The words hung between them. "Why are you hiding?" Tae-hyun asked quietly. "I'm not hiding. I'm working. At 10 p.m. in a business center, you could work in your room. You're avoiding me." Jiwon closed her laptop. "Yes, I'm avoiding you, because this—" She gestured between them. "Whatever this is, it can't happen." "Why not?" "Because you're my boss. Because I need this job. Because I've worked too hard to build my career to throw it away for—" She trailed off. "For what?" Tae-hyun pressed. "Say it." "For a crush," Jiwon said, the words coming out bitter. "A stupid, pointless crush that I should have handled better, but apparently I'm not as professional as I thought." Tae-hyun's world tilted. "What?" "Oh, don't look surprised. You think I spent 3 years working 18-hour days just for the salary? You think I didn't notice you? Notice the way you think, the way you solve problems, the way you treat people with respect, even in a world that runs on fear?" She stood up, pacing. "I've been managing this for 3 years, keeping it professional, keeping it buried. And then you had to—" She stopped. "Had to what?" "Notice me," Jiwon whispered. "Last night, at the pool, you noticed me. And now I can't unknow that. Can't pretend it's just one-sided anymore." Tae-hyun stood, slowly, giving her time to back away if she wanted. She didn't. "It was never one-sided," he said quietly. "Don't. I just didn't let myself see it, because you're right. This is complicated. You work for me. Getting involved would put you in an impossible position. Then why are we having this conversation?" "Because I'm tired of pretending," Tae-hyun said. "Tired of maintaining distance. Tired of treating you like you're just my assistant when you're so much more than that." "I am just your assistant. You're the person who knows how I take my coffee before I do. Who manages crises I don't even know are happening. Who makes me laugh during brutal negotiations with sarcastic comments no one else hears. Who works until she's exhausted because she cares about doing things right." He stepped closer. "You're the person I text at 2 a.m. because I know you'll be awake. The person whose opinion I trust more than anyone's. The person I look for in every room without realizing I'm doing it. Tae-hyun. And last night, when I saw you in that pool, happy and relaxed and not hiding, I realized I've been falling for you for months, maybe years. I just didn't let myself acknowledge it." Jiwon's eyes were bright behind her glasses, tears threatening. "We can't do this," she whispered. "I know. It would ruin everything. I know. You're my boss. I know. So what do we do?" Tae-hyun reached up slowly, giving her time to stop him, removed her glasses, folded them carefully, set them aside. "We're honest," he said. "For once, just honest. Not professional, not careful, just honest. I don't know how to be honest with you. Start simple. Tell me one true thing." Jiwon looked up at him, her eyes enormous without the glasses, vulnerable and terrified and hopeful all at once. "I think about you all the time," she whispered, "and I hate it." "Why do you hate it?" "Because it hurts. Wanting something I can't have. Someone I can't have. What if you could?" "Tae-hyun, I'm not saying we rush into anything. I'm not saying we ignore all the complications. But what if we tried? carefully, honestly. What if we stopped pretending? And if it doesn't work? If it ruins everything? Then at least we tried. At least we didn't spend our lives wondering what if. Ji-won stared at him. He could see her mind working. The pros and cons, the calculations. Then she did something that stopped his heart. She stepped forward, closed the distance, looked up at him with those unguarded eyes. "One true thing," she said. "One true thing. I've been in love with you since month 6. When you stayed up all night helping me fix a contract error that was my fault. When you bought the entire team lunch because I mentioned someone was having financial trouble. When you looked at me like I mattered." Tae-hyun couldn't breathe. 3 years, Ji-won continued. 3 years of being professional and distant and pretending I didn't feel this way. And I'm tired. I'm so tired of pretending. "Then stop," Tae-hyun said. "Just like that? Just like that? What if I'm terrible at this, at being anything other than your assistant? Then we figure it out together." Ji-won laughed, a small, broken sound. "This is insane." "Probably. We work together. Yes, this could be a disaster. Very likely. You're supposed to talk me out of this, not agree with everything I say." "I'm done lying," Tae-hyun said. "To you, to myself. If this is insane, at least it's honest insanity." Ji-won reached up, her hand shaking slightly, touched his face. "I don't have my glasses," she whispered. "You're kind of blurry. Is that a problem?" "I don't know. Let me check." She pulled him down, kissed him, soft, tentative, testing, and Tae-hyun's entire world realigned. The kiss lasted 3 seconds, maybe 5. Not long enough, already too long. When they pulled apart, Ji-won was trembling. "That was..." "Yeah," Tae-hyun agreed. "We probably shouldn't. Definitely not. So why do I want to do it again? Because we're both terrible at good decisions?" Ji-won laughed. Actually laughed, the tension breaking. "What happens now?" she asked. "Honestly, I have no idea." "That's not reassuring." "I'm not trying to be reassuring, I'm trying to be honest." She stepped back, put space between them, retrieving her glasses and sliding them back on. Armor back in place. But something fundamental had shifted. "We need rules," she said. "Okay. At work, nothing changes. Professional, distant, normal." "Agreed. No one can know, not yet. Not until we figure out what this is." "Makes sense. And if it doesn't work, if this is a mistake, we go back. No awkwardness, no weirdness. Just back to how it was." "Is that possible?" Tae-hyun asked quietly. "It has to be. Because I can't lose this job, and I can't lose you as whatever you are to me." "What am I to you?" Ji-won met his eyes. "You're the person I trust most in the world. The person who makes me feel seen. The person I've been in love with for 3 years while pretending I wasn't. And now? Now I'm terrified. Because admitting it makes it real. And real things can hurt." Tae-hyun closed the distance again, carefully, giving her space to refuse. "I'm terrified too," he admitted. "I've spent 15 years building walls, not letting anyone close, not wanting anything I couldn't control. And then you showed up with your sarcasm and your competence and your ability to see through my bullshit, and all those walls became useless." "When did you know?" Ji-won asked. "That I was falling for you? Honestly? I've been falling for months. I just didn't let myself acknowledge it. Last night at the pool just made it impossible to deny." "What was it? The swimsuit?" "No, well, yes. But not the way you think." "Then what?" "You were happy," Tae-hyun said simply. "I'd never seen you happy before, relaxed, unguarded. And I realized I'd been working next to you for 3 years and never bothered to know you beyond your professional persona. Never asked what you do for fun. Never wondered what makes you smile." "I don't do fun," Ji-won said. I work. Why? Because work is safe. Work has rules. Work doesn't reject you or leave you or disappoint you. That's lonely. So is running a criminal empire, Ji-won countered. When do you relax? When do you let your guard down? Never. See? We're both disasters. We're both careful, Tae-hyun corrected. There's a difference. Is there? Careful means we've been hurt before. Disaster means we don't learn from it. Ji-won smiled. When did you become philosophical? Since I started kissing my assistant in hotel business centers. Once. We kissed once. Would you like to do it again? Yes, Ji-won admitted. But we shouldn't. Why not? Because we're supposed to be figuring out rules and boundaries and how to make this work without destroying our professional relationship. Counterpoint, we could kiss and figure that out later. That's terrible logic. And yet you're smiling. Ji-won tried to hide it. Failed. This is crazy, she said. Yes. We're going to regret this. Probably. Why am I listening to you? Because you're tired of being careful. And so am I. He was right. She was tired. Tired of maintaining distance. Tired of pretending. Tired of going home alone to an empty apartment and wondering if this was all her life would ever be. One more rule, she said. Okay. If we do this, if we try this, we're honest. Completely honest. No games, no pretending. If it's not working, we say so. If we're scared, we admit it. No performance. I can do that. Can you? Because you're very good at performance. The confident CEO, the feared heir, the man who never shows weakness. With you, I don't have to perform, Tae-hyun said quietly. You've seen me stressed and exhausted and frustrated. You've seen me at my worst, and you're still here. Because I'm paid to be here. Is that the only reason? No, Ji-won admitted, but it's the safe reason. We're past safe. I know. They stood there. Two people who'd spent years being careful, being professional, being alone. What do we do now? Ji-won asked. We finish this trip, we go home, and we figure out how to be us without destroying everything we've built. That's vague. It's all I've got. Ji-won laughed. You're supposed to have plans, strategies. You're the CEO. I'm good at business strategies. Relationship strategies are new territory. For me, too. Then we'll be terrible at it together. That's oddly romantic. I'm trying. Ji-won looked up at him. I should go. We have an early meeting. Right, yeah. But neither of them moved. Tae-hyun? Yeah. Thank you. For what? For seeing me. Really seeing me. Not just the assistant. Not just the competent professional. Just me. You make it easy, Tae-hyun said. You're kind of impossible to miss. I literally designed my entire appearance to be missable. And yet here we are. Ji-won smiled. A real smile. Unguarded. Beautiful. Here we are, she agreed. The last day in Singapore was different. Not obviously. To anyone watching, they were still the professional CEO and his competent assistant. But there were small things. The way Tae-hyun brought Ji-won coffee exactly how she liked it without being asked. The way Ji-won's hand briefly touched his shoulder when she reached past him for documents. The shared glances during meetings. The inside jokes no one else heard. Small things, but they mattered. That evening, they had dinner. Just the two of them. Not a business dinner, just dinner. At a quiet restaurant overlooking the harbor. This feels like a date, Ji-won said. It is a date. We're supposed to be keeping this professional. Tomorrow we're professional. Tonight we're two people having dinner. Ji-won smiled. What if someone sees us? Then they see a CEO having dinner with his assistant. We do that sometimes. Not like this. No, Tae-hyun agreed. Not like this. They talked about everything. Childhood, dreams, fears. Things they'd never discussed in 3 years of working together. Ji-won told him about growing up in Busan, about losing her parents young, about building her life through sheer determination and refusing to need anyone. Tae-hyun told her about the weight of expectations, about inheriting an empire he didn't choose, about learning to be ruthless because kindness was weakness in his world. Do you ever wish you could walk away? Ji-won asked. Every day, but I can't. Too many people depend on me, and honestly, I don't know who I'd be without it. You'd be you, just without the empire. I'm not sure there's a me separate from the empire. It's all I've ever known. Then we'll figure it out, Ji-won said. Who you are beyond the title, beyond the fear. Just you. Is that what this is? You trying to save me? No. This is me trying to know you. Tae-hyun reached across the table, took her hand. I don't deserve you, he said quietly. That's not your decision to make. I'm serious. I'm a terrible choice. Dangerous, complicated, emotionally unavailable. And yet, here I am. Why? Because beneath all of that, you're kind. You pretend you're not, but you are. You take care of people. You protect them. You carry weight no one sees because you don't want them to hurt. That's not kindness. That's responsibility. It's both. They finished dinner, walked back to the hotel through warm Singapore night. In the elevator, Tae-hyun pulled her close. I know we said professional tomorrow, he murmured, but can I have tonight? Have tonight how? However you'll give it to me. Ji-won looked up at him. I'm still scared. Me too. What if we mess this up? Then we'll fix it. What if we can't? Then at least we tried. The elevator reached their floor. They walked to her door. Do you want to come in? Ji-won asked. More than anything. But I want you to be sure. I'm not sure about anything, but I'm sure I don't want tonight to end. Tae-hyun cupped her face. Then it doesn't have to. She kissed him. Slow, deep, not tentative this time. Certain. They stumbled into her room, the door closing behind them, and for once, they stopped being careful. They flew home the next morning. Everything was different. Nothing had changed. At the office, they were professional, distant, exactly as before. But now there were text messages at midnight, stolen moments in empty conference rooms, coffee dates that pretended to be business meetings, a relationship built in margins, secret, complicated, absolutely worth it. 3 months later, Ji-won was working late when Tae-hyun appeared in her office doorway. Come with me, he said. I have work. It can wait. He drove them to a rooftop bar, private, overlooking Seoul. Why are we here? Ji-won asked. Because I need to ask you something. That sounds ominous. Tae-hyun took her hands. I've been thinking about that night in Singapore. The pool. The moment everything changed. Okay? You said you made yourself invisible because visible women get treated differently. And I never told you. You were always visible to me. I just didn't let myself see it. I know. We've talked about this. But I never apologized for taking 3 years to notice, for making you feel like you had to hide. Tae-hyun, I'm stepping back, he said, from the company, promoting Minseo to COO. I'll still be involved, but not day to day, not running everything. Ji-won stared at him. Why? Because I want a life with you. Not stolen moments, not secrets. A real relationship where we don't have to hide. What are you saying? I'm saying I love you. I'm saying I want to build something real. And I'm saying I can't do that while you work for me. So you're firing me? I'm promoting you. To partner. Equal. Not my employee, my equal. Ji-won's eyes filled. Tae-hyun, I know it's fast. I know it's crazy, but I've wasted 3 years being careful. I don't want to waste any more. What if I say no? Then I'll respect it, and we'll figure something else out. But I needed you to know, you're not my assistant anymore. You never really were. You're the person I trust most, the person who makes me want to be better, the person I love. Ji-won kissed him, right there on the rooftop, not caring who saw. I love you too, she whispered, even though you're impossible and demanding and terrible at boundaries. Is that a yes? That's a let's figure it out together. I'll take it. They stood there, overlooking the city, and Ji-won thought about the poolside moment that had started everything, the moment she'd stopped hiding. The moment he'd finally seen her. Was it love? Or was it just two lonely people recognizing their match? Maybe it was both. Maybe the best love stories started with someone finally being brave enough to be seen. If you made it this far, thank you, seriously. That tells me these stories matter to you. Here's what I want to know. If someone spent years not seeing you, then suddenly did, would you give them a chance? Or are some moments too late? Comment chance if you'd give love a shot even after years of waiting. Comment too late if some things can't be undone. Where are you watching from? Have you ever fallen for someone you saw every day but never really saw? If you haven't subscribed yet, please do it now. It's how this channel survives, and it means more than you think. Next week. She pretended to be her twin sister for one dinner with the Mafia Boss. But he knew from the first word she spoke. What he did next changed everything. Until then, remember, sometimes love is just being brave enough to stop hiding. And sometimes the person worth loving is the one who's been there all along.